I'm gonna go over how to read a color chart. And I find this probably to be one of the most important things that I do in presentations, because it gives you as the artist the power over a cup of coffee to make really informed decisions about the color you want to purchase. It also allows you to have a really good discussion with the people in the store, so you know qualities and they know qualities, and you can come to kind of decision on what color may work for you best. So I really love this, and we're going to go over this today. These are the general colors. These are the Primatech colors, and these are the luminescent colors. So let's start with the general colors. We're going to use this right here, which is the legend. And the legend allows you to look at this right here and know the general name, what it's available in, information about the particular color, and also the color designation. So if we start with buff titanium, which is pigment white number 6, shade 1. And that's because buff titanium, titanium white, which is also pigment white number 6, all have the same pigment, just different shade. So if we look at buff titanium, we can see it's available in 15 mil, it's available in 5 mil, it's available in stick format, and it's available in half pan. We can also see here and learn about this color. The first is a Roman numeral 1, and that means light fastness. This has a tested light fastness of 100 plus years. The next is for staining. This has a 1, which means it's non-staining. The next is a Y, which means that this is a granulating color. And the last is for transparency. This is a semi-transparent color. When I talk about staining, if we look here, we can say this is cobalt violet. If I take a wet brush, I can remove the paint. It's non-staining. If I take the same wet brush on Hansa Yellow Medium, it's a 2 because you can see slight staining. If I do the same thing with Indanthrone Blue, it's medium staining. I can see a lot more of the tint. And when I look at Carmine, Carmine is high staining. It's not going to move. So when we talk about a 1, a 2, or 3, or 4, we're saying, is it non-staining? I can lift it. Low staining, lift it, but a little bit of tint. 3, medium staining, a lot more tint. And finally, high staining, a 4. The other thing is the transparency. If I look here, this side here is white, and this side here is black. If I look at quinacridone burnt orange and I put it over white, I can see it. It's right here, quinacridone burnt orange. If I put it over black, I can't see it. All I see is black. And that's because this is a transparent color. So I'm seeing through the color and I'm seeing the black underneath. When I say it's semi-transparent, for example, permanent red, see it on white very well, and I can see it right here on the black. I see red. And that's because it's semi-transparent. And lastly, if I look at chromium green oxide, I can see it on the white and then just a huge amount on the black. And that's because it's an opaque color. You as a watercolorist are different than how an oil colorist or a acrylic artist paints. They can put white over black, black over white, they can put yellow, they can do whatever they want as the colors dry. As a watercolorist, it's always from light to dark. And once you get to dark, which is what finally get to opaque, you're done. So if you were to pick an opaque color for the very first color, let's see, for example, English Red Earth. The minute you put that down, you're done because it's opaque. You're already at opacity. You're already at opaque. So these are the things that you want to think through when you're looking at colors and why we have so many. For example, we have yellows, and you can see just the range of yellows. And that's because some granulate and some don't. Some stain and some don't. Some are transparent, right here. Some are semi-transparent, and some are opaque. It really allows you to make very specific choices over a cup of coffee, seeing the image that you want in your mind, and then picking the color that's going to allow you to get that. A question that's asked, it was asked in this session, it's a great question, is what's the difference between a transparent color and a non-transparent color? So if we looked at a regular oxide would be, for example, 0.1 microns. It's very small. Remember we said that 100 was this piece of paper? So a regular oxide can be 1 micron. A transparent would be 0.1 micron. That's unbelievably small. The particle is so small you can see through it, see around it, so it's transparent. That's how the transparency versus non-transparent, if you were curious about that. If you were doing a realist painting and you wanted no granulation, you're doing a Ferrari or something where you want no granulation, then the last thing you want to do is pick a color that's going to have a Y for granulation, right? You're going to want a color that says N for no granulation. If I'm doing a wash of green and I want to pick out a certain amount of it to create a negative space to put another color, then I'm saying to myself, I want a color that doesn't stain because I want to lift that color out, create a negative space to put another color in its place. If I say to myself, you know what I want to do is I want a series of glazes. If I want a series of glazes, my best method to achieve that would be to use transparent colors because that allows me to use the most amount of glazes. So these are all choices you get to make by looking at the different colors and what characteristics they have that are going to be favorable to what it is that you're doing. If you're my mom, I love my mother, any color will work. But if you want more power over it, then this is a great way over a cup of coffee to have huge power over what you're doing and how you're doing it. So I'm asked many times, why does it have such a weird name? Why do you have isoindolene? Why do you have quinethalone? These, they're just really quinacridones. Well, what causes those? If a pigment has a single pigment, for example, quinethalone is pigment yellow number 138. It means it had a creator. And so if you have a son, you call your son John, which is a great name, by the way. If I meet him, I also call him John. I don't call him Tim or Fred. The creator called him John, I call him John. It's to pay homage. And so chemistry has that same rule. So if we buy a pigment and it's a single pigment and it's called quinethalone, we call it quinethalone. That's why it has that interesting name. Additionally, if you see on some of the pigments, we have a huge amount of colors that are single pigment. We have some that are more than one pigment. If it's more than one pigment, it can be called anything that we want to call it. Also, just like your ingredients, when you go buy bread, the first pigment, I'll give an example here. Okay, cobalt blue violet has pigment blue 28 and pigment violet number 19. What that's telling us, it has more pigment blue 28 than pigment violet 19, just like the supermarket. So if there's 3, there's more of the first one than the second one, more of the second one than the third one. At the end of the day, you as watercolorists are very analytical. I've probably seen 10,000 artists over the years I've been doing presentations, and you are all analytical. Whether you think you are or not, you are. And you have to be, because you don't see the world the way other people see the world, which for me is always, it's a beautiful way you see the world. When you look at somebody, you'll look and you'll say, how am I gonna paint that person? And in your mind, quickly, you put them as a puzzle and you take it apart. And you go, okay, it's a white and green shirt. The white is gonna have to be the first thing I do on this particular subject. And what's gonna be next? Well, maybe the arms, because they're lighter than the green. And the pants, because they're black, they're gonna have to be last. Because when I get to the dark, I'm done, right? It's light to dark. And you're just putting that subject not in sequence, in all these strange, different sequences. which I find is always so amazing. It's always so fantastic to talk to you. That's why using a color chart is not hard for you. If you give this an hour, you will be a master of a color chart. You will understand how to read this, how to talk to other people about it. It will give you fantastic amounts of power.